Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we will continue to read this in the 8th chapter, 9th shloka of Bhagavad Gita. Kavim Puranam Anusashitaram Anoraniyam Sha Anusmaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasap Prasadat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything. Kavin, no, Kavi means one who knows everything. And then Puranam is the oldest. And he is the oldest who is the controller. Controller means Anusashitanam, Anusasitaram. And then who is the smaller than the smallest? Anoraniyan. So Anu means very small, Anoraniyan. And then um, and who is the maintainer of everything? And Anusmaredya, Sarvasya Dhataram, is a maintainer, and then Achintya Rupam, and who's beyond the material conception, Achintya. We cannot think of, we cannot imagine about the Lord's form. It's Achintya Rupa. And then who is inconceivable and who's always a person. So Achintya Rupam, Rupam is like inconceivable, Achintya is also inconceivable, and then Rupam is a person, right? And then Aditya Varnam, he is luminous like sun. Aditya means sun, Aditya Varnam, and he is transcendental beyond material nature. No, Tamasap Parastat, Tamasap Parastat. So Tama means like ignorance, and Para means like superior. So he is superior to the ignorance, or he is beyond the material nature. Material nature means ignorance. So in this way it is there. Okay, purport. The process of thinking of the Supreme is mentioned in this verse. The foremost point is that he is not impersonal or void. One cannot meditate on something impersonal or void. That is very difficult. The process of thinking of Krishna, however, is very easy and is factually stated herein. First of all, the Lord is Purusha, a person. We think of the person Rama and the person Krishna. And whether one thinks of Rama or of Krishna, what he is like is described in this verse of Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is Kavi, that is, he knows the past, present, and future. He knows everything. Therefore, he knows everything. He is the oldest personality, Purana, right? Oldest personality because he is the origin of everything. Okay, everything is born out of him. He is the origin again. So he is also the supreme controller of all the universe, and he is the maintainer and the instructor of humanity. He is the smaller than the smallest, Anoraniyan. So the living entity is 1,000, 1/10,000 part of the tip of a hair. So Keshagra Satabhagasya Satata Kalpitasya. So like that, there is a sloka is there where it describes how the soul, we the soul, are 1/10,000 of the tip of the hair. So that means Satabhaga. So again, the 100, if we divide the tip of the hair in 100 parts, and each of the part, if one of the part, if we divide again into 100 parts, That singular part which comes out is the size of the soul. It's like we are very, very small. We are Anu. That's why we are called as Anu. And the Lord is called as Vibhu. He's the greatest. Okay, but the Lord is so inconceivably small that he enters into the heart of this particle. So the Lord is the most smallest also and biggest also. He enters into this Anu, no? So then we can understand like how great the Lord is. Therefore, he is called the smaller than the smallest. As the supreme, he can enter into the atom and into the heart of the smallest and control him as the super soul. Although so small, he is still all pervading and is maintaining everything. By him, all these planetary systems are sustained. We often wonder how these big planets are floating in the air. It is stated here that the Supreme Lord, by his inconceivable energy, is sustaining all these big planets and systems of galaxies. The word achintya, inconceivable, is very significant in this connection. God's energy is beyond our conception, beyond our thinking jurisdiction, and is therefore called inconceivable, achintya. Who can argue this point? He pervades. Okay, so this is one point that can possibly be contested, saying that so you don't know the Lord, or you just imagine the Lord in some way. And if somebody asks you a question about the Lord, you say like Lord is inconceivable, right? So no, you just simply don't want to answer that question. So basically, you don't know. That's why you are telling inconceivable. Otherwise, you should give a logical answer who the Lord is. So one of the logical answer is, if Lord is great, and if Lord is the master of everything, He is the origin of everything, and He is really very great and supreme. So then, if He can fit inside my logical thinking capacity, so then how He can be great, how He can be the supreme? So if He is beyond my logical thinking capacity, then He is the Lord, then He is the supreme. So that's the definition. By definition, we cannot understand the Lord in 360-degree in all the ways. That's not possible. So that's why the Lord is achintya, right? So nobody can challenge us saying that you explain the Lord, everything about the Lord logically, and make me understand about that. It's not possible. So He is achintya. So achintya guna swarupam, right? So he is, okay. Who can argue this point? He pervades this material world and yet is beyond it. We cannot comprehend even this material world, which is insignificant compared to the spiritual world. So, how can we comprehend what is beyond? Achintya means that which is beyond this material world, that which our argument, logic, and philosophical speculation cannot touch, that which is inconceivable. That's called achintya. Therefore, intelligent persons, avoiding useless arguments and speculation, should accept what is stated in the scriptures like Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. Jnane prayasa udapasya namantayeva. So we have to give up the prayasa based on knowledge and then surrender unto the Lord. No, surrender means to follow His instructions, and His instructions are there in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And follow the principles they set down. Know these scriptures, whatever they set down, so we should follow that. This will lead one to understanding, of the Supreme Lord. Okay, let's get to the next sloka. Prayana kale manasa chalena uh, bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bruvor madhye pranam aveshya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. So one who at the time of death fixes his life hair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we remember that Arjuna asked this question that in the beginning of the chapter, that what is the how should a person actually quit? How can a person remember Krishna at the point of death? So that's a question that is asked by Arjuna, and Krishna is telling that he's describing the form. What form we have to meditate upon? Aditya Varnam, Tamasap Parastat, and things like that, and Anoraniyan, all these things. So he's mentioning all those aspects, all those wonderful features of the Lord, and then a person is expected to fix his mind on this form, right? So we have discussed this point sometime elaborately, that at the point of death, a person will go through so much of pain. It is not possible to fix his mind on something. No, we can imagine when we were in pain of something, like, we were hurt, or we were having some fever and things like that. So it's very, very difficult to focus on anything. And especially when we have fever and things like that, it's very, very difficult for us to even focus or even finish our 16 rounds properly. No, so the pain, it doesn't allow us to focus on anything properly. So but then at the point of death, every single part of our body is failing one by one, and at that point in time, one has to fix his mind on the Supreme Lord. How is it possible? So it's possible only by the mercy of the Lord, and how much we are attached to the Lord, and that much, and also by the mercy of the Lord, we will be able to fix our mind. And once we fix our mind on the Lord, there is no more pain. No, pains may be there, but it will not affect. No, it will be like a person can transcend the pains and pleasures of this world, and he can be like fully fixed. That's what is expected of the devotees. No, what's the use of our practice? What's the use of our hearing Krishna Katha? What's the use of all the service that we are doing? We have to, the test is that how we pass away from this world. No, that's the examination. So if we are passing away with so much of pain and anxiety and things like that, so that's not a great passing away. If we pass away with no great jubilation, and with fully happy seeing and meditating on the form of the Lord, so that's the success of all the life's devotion that we are practicing, right? So there is a Bengali saying that Prabhupada often cites. He used to say that bhajan karo, sadhan karo, martya janle hoy. That means all your bhajan and sadhan, will be tested at the point of death. No, that's the examination. So in that way, like we see that here Krishna is mentioning that one has to fix his mind upon the Supreme Lord at the point of quitting the body. Let's see the purport. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Ajna Chakra. Ajna Chakra. The practice of Sat Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the six chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. Right. So now we see that if we have practiced, then we can make use of those things, make use of those practice of yoga and things like that. But if you're just simply a devotee of the Lord, so then Lord does everything. So whatever you have, He preserves, and whatever you lack, He actually carries. So whatever necessary arrangement is there, everything will be done by the Lord if we just simply dedicate our life for the service of the Lord. Right. So the particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse, because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra yoga or Bhakti yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. So now we are practicing Bhakti yoga. What is our practice? Our practice is on a regulated way. We are every day hearing about the Lord, every day chanting the names of the Lord, every day reading about the Lord. So this is our practice of yoga. So this practice of yoga will help us at the time of death. Automatically we will be like fully Krishna conscious, right? So if our practice is sincere, then definitely we will be Krishna conscious, right? So one cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. Right? So that's what we are trying to do. Text 11. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yatayat Yatayo Vitaraga Yad Ichanto Brahmacharyam Charanti Tatte Padam Sangrahena Pravakshe. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in renounced order of order enter into the Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Purport. Lord Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Satchakra Yoga, in which one places the air of life between the eyebrows, taking it for granted that Arjuna might not know how to practice Satchakra Yoga. The Lord explains the process in the following verses. The Lord says that Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features. Especially for the impersonalist, the Akshara or Omkara, the syllable Om, is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explains the impersonal Brahman into which the renounced order of sages enter. So generally a renunciant means a person in knowledge, a person who has won over the contaminations of the senses, right? So generally a person in knowledge like that, so he actually enters into the Brahman. No, that's the stage that he actually enters into. Right? Just a minute. Okay. So generally, a person in knowledge, he enters into Brahman. So because he has cleansed all his material contamination, and then a person who's further advanced, who has developed attraction towards the personal form of the Lord and service of the Lord, he enters into the Vaikuntha planet. So generally, the renunciants, renunciants means immediately we should understand they are situated in knowledge, not like the renunciants who are there in the modern days, who are doing all sorts of sense gratification and also claim themselves to be renunciants, especially the sannyasis. So that kind of people are not mentioned here. It's mentioned about renunciant or a sannyasi means a person who has crossed the material hankerings, and his senses, mind, and intelligence is purified, and he is always able to think of spiritual elements or something like that. So such people, so they enter into the impersonal Brahman, right? So in the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living with the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize two of Brahman's features. This practice this practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life, but at the moment, such brahmachari, unmarried, celibate life is not at all possible. Okay, so here we see that in this way they realize two of the Brahman's features. What are the features of Brahman? Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So Sat means eternity, Chit means knowledge. So these two features they understand. No, because of these two features, they can enter into the impersonal Brahman. But Ananda means that which is derived from the service of the Lord. No, that these people will not get. So, general practice of the Vedic system is that everyone is put through the system of eternity and knowledge. These two features are taught to the students in the Gurukul, and that's the system of Vedic. This one. So anybody, a Brahmana means like a person who's put into a training of how to deal with things which are permanent. So not to deal with things which are like temporary, which are worldly. So how to deal with things which are permanent, and how to gain knowledge. Gaining knowledge means giving up sense gratification. How to gain knowledge. So that is taught. That's the brahmachari life, right? So, but in the modern day, it is completely not possible with so much of what is it? Advertisements for sense gratification, with so much of people wearing like almost sparsely wearing clothes and things like that. So it's very, very difficult to practice that system of brahmacharya. So all our children are sent to the schools, where it's co-education is there, and then like it's all mixed, like it's all completely mixed. So it's the brahmachari life is completely gone. So children from the age of 5, no, they are supposed to be trained as brahmacharis, right? So, and at the age of marriageable age, no, if somebody wants, they can get married. Otherwise, they can continue the brahmacharya, and that is the Vedic system. So, but it is completely gone in the modern day, right? So the social construction of the world has changed so much. There is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in brahmachari principle. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to the scriptural injunctions for this age of Kali, that in this age, no process of realization, realizing the Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So contamination is to its peak, and we need to offer a very, very strong dose of medicine, and that's the Hare Krishna mantra. And no other process can work. No other processes require. All other processes will fail in Kali Yuga, because the levels of contamination is so high. So other processes means if we want to practice Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga, they require a very, very like what is that steep prerequisites, which the people of Kali Yuga cannot fulfill, and they cannot even attempt to get into that process. But then the process of Bhakti Yoga, it's like live wire process. Live wire which is full of current. It's like whether what is that whatever may be your state, it'll offer you shock. That's how this Hare Krishna mantra is very, very powerful, right? So it can offer purification for anyone. Okay, text 12. Sarvadvarani samyamya manohridi nirudhya cha मूर्धन्यादा आध्यात्मनः pranam astito yogadharanam. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Purport: to practice yoga as suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, that is, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in self gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the super soul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the 6th chapter, this process is described in detail, but as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi. Okay, text 13. Om iti ekaksharam brahma vyaharan mamanusmaran ya prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. Okay. Anyway, Prabhupada is covering in the purport. Let's see the purport. Purport: it is clearly stated here that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are non-different. No, because Krishna is telling that you chant the Om and then you focus on me, right? So the impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is clearly recommended for this age. So if one quits his body at the end of life chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, he certainly reaches one of the spiritual planets according to the mode of his practice. The devotees of Krishna enters the Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavan. For the personalist, there are also innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti. So here we see that Om, chanting of the Om, sometimes people think that especially devotees, outside people, to like no common people, they think Om is greater. So but even devotees sometimes misunderstand that chanting of Om is something superior, and the chanting of Hare Krishna is okay, like no, it's not that great. So but we should understand, no, chanting of Krishna's names, personal names, are no always greater. Krishna has different kinds of names. So one is the functional name, one is impersonal name. So this Om is the lowest amongst the in the classification of Krishna's names. So Om is impersonal, and then next is like Krishna's. This one is Shrishtikarta, and then Krishna is like the maintainer of the material world, no Paramatma, and then like Sarva Vyapi and things like that. So these names, they are indicating the what is that functional aspect of the Lord, and because they are indicating the functional aspect of the Lord, they are not so superior. No, Om is the lowest, and then the functional aspect of the Lord, so that's the next better thing. And the most powerful and most intimate names of the Lord are like Yashodanandan, Nandanandan, right? So Lord's personal names, Krishna, Govinda, Madhava, right? So these are all like very, very powerful names, no, because they are very, very personal names of the Lord. Right? So in this way, we can see that there are different gradations of names are there, and we are so fortunate. No, we are chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so we don't need to take up to the process of chanting Om. No, so of course, like when we are chanting some Vedic hymns and things like that, the Om will come. So we are not so particular about chanting the Om. So when like Om is there in the this one, we are not averse to it also. Like no, we chant the Om. So but then for our sadhana practice, we don't take the Om chanting. We take Hare Krishna mantra. Right. Okay. Text 14. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityasah nityashah tasyaham sulabam partha nityayuktasya yoginah. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pruta, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. So, these are all different ways to attain the Supreme. And the principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added. But this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha. So, as indicated by the word ananya chetaha, in pure bhakti yoga, ananya chetaha means like pure, very, very pure. No? And in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyoti or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama. No, like it is mentioned, like what is that? Bhukti, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami, Sakali Ashanta, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama, Atayeva Shanta. So Krishna Bhakta is called as Nishkama, right? So Bhukti, no, like Bhukti means like material sense gratification, and like Bhukti Kami, and there are Mukti Kamis. Mukti means liberation. So liberation, there are people who want liberation, and then Siddhi Kamis, the people who want Siddhis by practice of Ashtanga Yoga, and no, Sakali Ashanta. All these people are Ashanta. They can never be peaceful because they are looking for something. No, Bahirarthamanina. So Andayatan, they're Bahir. No, so like they are looking for something external, right? So they don't know what is their real self-interest, and they're looking for something external, right? So no, nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu, no, durashaya bahirattamanina. So nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu, swartha gati or self-interest his lies in Vishnu, or Vishnu is our real self-interest. And without that, if we look for bhukti, if we look for sense gratification, if we look for liberation, or if we look for siddhi, no, this is all bahirartha manina. So like we are taking something external as my self-interest. So how much ever, if I'm hungry, so I have to put food in my mouth, no? If I put food in a dog's mouth and a cat's mouth and no everybody's mouth, and then I say like I'm still hungry, I'm not satisfied, I'm doing so many things, I'm not getting satisfaction, obviously like you will not be satisfied. So it's because no, I am hungry and I should be fed through my mouth. And it is in the same way, like if we are a living entity, and the Paramatma, our real self or our internal self, is the Vishnu. No, that is why it is mentioned, no Swartha Gatim Hi Vishnu. It is certainly the Swartha Gati is Vishnu. No, we have to worship Vishnu or Krishna, to get completely satisfied. Okay, so perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a jnani yogi, karma yogi, or hatha yogi has his own selfish interest. Right? A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who's unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations such as Rama and Narsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plagues the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but we have already explained he is especially inclined towards those who always serve him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in Vedas, Kata Upanishad, Yam evaishi vrinute tena labhyas tasyaisa atma vrinute tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. So if we are engaged in devotional service by the way of hearing every day, reading every day, chanting every day, we must understand the Lord, right? So we will understand the Lord. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. No, Dadami means like I will give. No, Buddhi Yogam Tam. Like, no, I will give the knowledge. No, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Lord says, Tesham, no, of those people, Satata Yuktanam, always engaged in the service of the Lord. No, Yukti means like to be engaged. Tesham Satata Yuktanam, Bhajatam, Priti Purvakam. No, they are engaged in what? Bhajatam means they are engaged in Bhakti Yoga. Bhaja means like to render devotional service. Bhajatam, Priti Purvakam. No, with lot of love and affection. If somebody is rendering devotional service, so to them, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. No, I will give no Buddhi Yoga to them. Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Yenama Upayantite. Right? So the Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual kingdom. So the constant engagement in the devotional service is highlighted here. Right? So if that is done, then definitely we will get the sufficient knowledge to reach the kingdom of the Lord. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he always thinks of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan and some holy towns where the Lord lived, but a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are, O Lord, that is Vrindavan. As indicated by the words Satatam and Nityashaha, which means always and regularly or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service and neutrality, and Dashya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as a servant. So, as we had sometimes discussed, Shanta Bhakta means continuous remembrance of the Lord. No, that's called Shanta Bhakta, right? And then Dashya Bhakta means so engaged in service. That means continuous remembrance of the Lord. In addition to that, no, he is engaged in the service of the Lord. And then Sakya Bhakta means engaged as a friend. That means it also includes the previous two. No, constant remembrance of the Lord, and then engagement in the service, and also with the attitude of friendship, right? And then Vatsalya Bhakta means engaged as a parent. So this involves all the three before. So that is constant remembrance of the Lord, practical, engaged in practical service of the Lord, and developed a nice friendship with the Lord, and also developed a mood of protector of the Lord, right? So Yashoda Maya, she thinks that if I don't take care of Krishna, so he will be hurt. No, he will he will be misguided. So in that way, she tries to protect Krishna, right? So that's called Vatsalya Bhav, right? So and then Madhurya Bhakta, as engaged as conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord, so the gopis of Vrindavan. So they include all the previous 4 items, and then something more special in the fifth rasa, right? So in this way, like we see that a devotee can be engaged in these different kinds of relationship with the Lord. In any of these ways, the pure devotee is always constantly engaged in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. Okay, so these kind of relationships that we saw, these 5 kinds of relationships, that will start uh, an ankura, or a bud kind of a form of these relationships will start appearing in the stage of bhava. No, so like ado shraddha means a little faith that no, Krishna, if I just surrender to Krishna, everything is done. Like no, I just do Krishna's service and that's it. Like I don't need to do demigod worship, I don't need to take any other process, just simply stick on to Krishna. So that is ado shraddha. And then sadhu sangha. So then after that we have the association of devotees. So now we are all coming together in the association of devotees. So that's sadhu sangha. And then bhajana kriya. No, we chant 16 rounds, and then we follow regulative principles, and then we try to see how our 24 hours a day can be made into devotional service, how our eating can be made into devotional service, how our sleeping can be made into devotional service, how our work can be made into devotional service, right? So everything has to be no devotional service 24/7. So that is bhajana kriya. Then after that, anartha nivriti, purifying our anathas, and then nishta, ashakti, ruchi. So these are all very, very high stages. Even then, a person cannot understand this. What is the relationship he has with Krishna? When he crosses all these stages and comes to the stage of bhava, little bit of understanding comes, and in the stage of prema, this relationship becomes very, very clear. No, one is a Shanta Bhakta, Dashya Bhakta, Sakya Bhakta. All these relationships becomes clear in the stage of prema, right? So we don't need to worry about, or we don't need to imitate. No, I want to be like this and things like that. We don't need to imitate all those things. We just simply have to chant Hare Krishna and engaged in devotional service. That's what is the stage right now we are in, right? So just like if somebody is in LKG or UKG, or from the first standard, second standard, so they didn't need to worry about complex calculus problems or some complex essays in English grammar and things like that. They just need to do something simple, right? So in the same way, we also just need to do something simple. That is chanting our 16 rounds properly, attentively, with focus, and reading and hearing, and whatever devotional service just can engage all our senses all the time. So that's how much we have to do now. And as we progress, slowly we will get into more clarity of our relationships and things like that. Okay, so a pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly the Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessings of Krishna conscious process, of chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So from the point of Adav Shraddha, the Komal Shraddha, or the budding Shraddha, till the point of Prema. So the thing that is going to take us to through all these different stages is chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. So there may be different challenges, there may be different phases that we are going to go through, but the thing that we are going to do in all these different phases is just chant Hare Krishna. That's all, right? So it's something like, a person is, his journey of education starts from LKG to college and graduation and things like that. Throughout the process, he's going to study books and he's going to go to school, or college. That's constant. Something similar to that nature. No, it's more than that, but something similar to that nature we can understand Hare Krishna mantra. So just by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, we will open up all these wonderful stages and stages of bliss, stages of amazing realizations, right? So we will open up all these things, and only thing that we need to do is chanting this Hare Krishna mantra with a lot of focus and attention, right? So with this, I stop today, and there is a news that my spiritual master, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, he is found positive of COVID. So it's a situation, it's a news which is very saddening us. And Maharaj is quite confident, so he will come out of it, and he's spiritually very powerful. And it's our duty to offer our prayers to the Lord, that it's between the Lord and the devotees, what the Lord decides. So we don't know. So, but at least we can offer prayers that these pure souls, who are there in this earth planet, because of them, so many people are able to get chance to practice Krishna consciousness. It's very important that we beg and pray to the Lord that if Lord wishes that he should completely cure his pure devotee, and offer us some more association of these great souls. Right, so let's chant one time Hare Krishna mantra. Let's chant 3 times Hare Krishna mantra for the good health of Maharaj, and also, all of you can chant some extra rounds, for the health of Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So let's finish the session here, and please chant some extra rounds for the health of Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Very good.